Drift into sleep with our bedtime story, enriched with nature's audio, ensuring a tranquil rest. Tonight's tale, The Last Sunset. In the twilight of his career, Jacob had seen the fabric of time bend and twist, a testament to humanity's crowning achievement: time travel. As a retired time agent from the Chrono Guard, an organization tasked with the oversight of temporal excursions, he knew the weight of the rules he once enforced. Yet, in the quiet solitude of his years, a gnawing regret tugged at his heart, a yearning for a different ending to a story that had haunted him for decades. The world had changed since the cataclysm, an event so devastating that it left the earth scarred and its people irrevocably altered. Information about the day before the cataclysm was shrouded in mystery and tightly controlled by the authorities. It was said that understanding that day could unravel the very threads of reality as they knew it. Driven by a mixture of guilt and curiosity, Jacob decided to embark on a forbidden journey, utilizing a clandestine time machine. He had kept hidden from his days in the field. He set his sights on the day before the cataclysm. The machine, a relic of a bygone era, hummed to life, its gears whirring softly as it sliced through the temporal veil. His arrival was marked by the serene beauty of a world untouched by the scars of the future. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the city. It was the last sunset before everything changed, a moment frozen in time, both beautiful and tragic in its transience. As Jacob walked the familiar streets, memories flooded back to him. He saw the world through a lens of what was to come, the joy and laughter of people oblivious to their impending doom. Yet, amidst the beauty, a sense of unease settled over him. He knew he was not here merely as an observer. His connection to the cataclysm was more than just the regret of a passive witness. He had a role to play, a part in this intricate tapestry of time that he had yet to understand. With each visit, the layers of the event began to peel away, revealing hints and whispers of the truth. The cataclysm was not a simple act of nature or a random occurrence. It was a culmination of choices, a series of dominoes meticulously set to fall. Jacob's heart ached with the realization that his actions, both past and present, were intertwined with the fate of the world. The journey back in time was not just a quest for answers, but a path of redemption. Each leap brought him closer to understanding not only the nature of the cataclysm, but also his own soul. The desire to change the past was a powerful force, but it was tempered by the understanding that some things, once set in motion, could not be undone. As the first chapter of his journey unfolded, Jacob stood at the crossroads of destiny and choice. The last sunset before the cataclysm was both a beginning and an end, a reminder of the fragility of time and the resilience of the human spirit. In the quest to unravel the mystery, Jacob would confront the deepest parts of himself, embarking on a journey not just through time, but into the heart of what it means to truly make a difference. As the dawn broke on his second journey, Jacob found himself standing in the midst of a bustling market square, the air filled with the cacophony of daily life. People moved around him, each engrossed in their own worlds, unaware of the man who had traveled through time to walk among them. This visit was different. Jacob had a purpose beyond observation. He needed to find the connections, the threads that tied him to the cataclysm, and possibly discover a way to untangle them. His first clue came in the form of an old friend, Michael, a fellow time agent who had vanished without a trace years before the cataclysm. The shock of seeing Michael, alive and vibrant, shopping in the market, was a jolt to Jacob's senses. It was a stark reminder of the life he had left behind and the unresolved mysteries that had haunted him. Approaching Michael under the guise of a chance encounter, Jacob steered the conversation towards the cataclysm, probing for any hint of knowledge or involvement. Michael, however, was a closed book, his demeanor shifting from friendly to guarded with each mention of the event. It was clear that Michael held secrets, ones that he was not willing to share, at least not yet. Determined not to let this lead slip through his fingers, Jacob followed Michael at a distance, observing as he met with a group of unfamiliar faces in a secluded alley. The group spoke in hushed tones, their conversation peppered with references to the project and the adjustment. It was evident that they were part of something significant, something potentially linked to the cataclysm. As he delved deeper into the mystery, Jacob's presence in the past began to have unintended consequences. His interactions, no matter how cautious, were ripples in the pond of time, altering the course of events in subtle but undeniable ways. He realized that the more he learned, the more he risked changing the very fabric of history, potentially erasing the future he knew. This realization brought with it a heavy burden. Jacob understood that his quest for redemption might come at a cost. To prevent the cataclysm, he might have to sacrifice his own existence, erasing himself from the timeline to ensure the continuity of others. It was a price he found himself increasingly willing to pay, driven by a deep-seated need to atone for unseen sins. As the sun set on his second visit, Jacob stood once more at the threshold of time, the weight of his discoveries heavy on his shoulders. The shadows of tomorrow were lengthening, growing darker with the knowledge of what might come to pass. Yet, within those shadows, there was also a glimmer of hope, a chance that the future was not as immutable as it seemed. The journey into the past was more than a search for answers. It was a battle against the inevitability of time itself. With each leap backward, Jacob edged closer to the truth, to the heart of the cataclysm, and his role in its unfolding. The path was fraught with danger and moral quandaries, but for Jacob, the chance to right a wrong, to change the course of history, was worth any risk. The shadows of tomorrow beckoned, and he was ready to face them, whatever the cost. In the heart of the night, beneath a starlit sky that held no memory of tomorrow's darkness, Jacob prepared for another descent into the past. This time, he was driven not just by the need to understand, but by the urgency of intervention. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly coming together, revealing a picture far more complex and sinister than he had anticipated. The project Michael and his associates were involved in was not merely scientific ambition gone awry. It was a deliberate act, one that threatened the very fabric of time itself. Armed with fragments of conversations and half-glimpsed plans, Jacob set his coordinates with meticulous care. He arrived at a moment teetering on the edge of revelation, where the actions of a few would determine the fate of many. The air was thick with anticipation, and the city hummed with an energy that belied the calm before the storm. His investigation led him to a nondescript building, its facade a mask for the machinations within. It was here, in the bowels of this unremarkable structure, that the seeds of the cataclysm were being sown. Jacob infiltrated the facility with the ease of a ghost, unseen and unheard, his presence a mere whisper against the louder backdrop of history in the making. Inside, he discovered a hive of activity. Scientists and engineers worked feverishly, their faces alight with the fervor of belief. They were crafting a device, one capable of manipulating the temporal field on a scale previously unimaginable. It was a weapon, disguised as a tool of progress, capable of erasing entire timelines from existence. Jacob's heart raced as he pieced together their plan. The cataclysm was no accident. It was a calculated reset, an attempt to shape the future by obliterating the past. The implications were staggering, the arrogance breathtaking. These men and women sought to play gods, blind to the consequences of their hubris. As he delved deeper, Jacob uncovered the final piece of the puzzle, his own connection to the event. It was a revelation that shook him to his core. In a cruel twist of fate, he was the linchpin, the unwitting catalyst for the cataclysm. His past actions, taken in another life and for different reasons, had set this path in motion. The knowledge was a blade to his soul, cutting deep with the realization of his complicity. With the weight of this understanding, Jacob faced a choice that was no choice at all. To prevent the cataclysm, he would have to destroy the device and, in doing so, erase the sequence of events that led to its creation, including his own actions. It was a sacrifice of unimaginable proportions, a surrender to the currents of time that would wash away his existence, but save countless others. The decision was made in the silence of his heart, a resolve forged in the crucible of guilt and redemption. Jacob set his plan into motion, moving through the facility with a singular purpose. He sabotaged the device, setting off a chain reaction that would ensure its destruction. As the alarms blared and chaos ensued, Jacob slipped away, a phantom fading into the night. He returned to his time machine, the instrument of his salvation and his doom, and set the coordinates for home. As the temporal field enveloped him, he closed his eyes, embracing the oblivion that awaited. The world he left behind would never know his sacrifice, the name Jacob lost to the annals of a history he had rewritten. But in the heart of the night, beneath a starlit sky that would now remember tomorrow, the echoes of the unseen hero whispered through the ages, a testament to the power of one to change the course of many. The last sunset before the cataclysm would remain a memory, a moment of beauty preserved against the darkness, and in that preservation, a new dawn awaited, filled with the promise of a future unburdened by the shadows of the past. In the aftermath of his monumental choice, Jacob emerged into a world unmarked by the scars of the cataclysm. The city stood tall and vibrant. The laughter of children filled the air, and the skies were clear of the shadows that once loomed over them. It was a world reborn, its history untainted by the disaster that had threatened to unravel the fabric of time itself. Yet, for Jacob, this new dawn was bittersweet, for he walked its streets as a ghost, his sacrifices forgotten, his existence a mere echo in the continuum. The realization that his actions had indeed altered the course of history was both a relief and a burden. He had saved countless lives and prevented untold suffering, but in doing so, he had erased himself from the narrative. Friends and colleagues who had once shared his life now passed him by without a flicker of recognition. He was an outsider in the very world he had fought to save, a guardian whose vigil was unseen and unsung. Despite the solace found in the world's vibrancy and joy, a deep loneliness gnawed at Jacob. The connections he had once cherished were severed, leaving him adrift in a sea of faces that held no memory of him. It was the price of his journey, a sacrifice made in silence for the greater good. Yet, in the depth of his isolation, Jacob found a new purpose. Determined to not let his knowledge and experience go to waste, he turned his focus towards ensuring that the future remained free of the threats that had once endangered it. Using the insights gained from his travels, he worked from the shadows, guiding the course of scientific inquiry away from the dangerous precipices it once teetered upon. He became a silent protector, a guardian angel, steering humanity away from the abyss with a gentle hand. As months turned to years, Jacob's solitary existence was punctuated by moments of quiet intervention. He watched over the world like a specter, content in the knowledge that his unseen presence was a shield against the darkness. Yet, in his heart, there remained a yearning for connection, a desire to belong once more among those he had saved. It was during a walk through the park on an ordinary day that fate, with its ever-twisting path, brought a glimmer of hope. A young woman, her curiosity piqued by the solitary man who seemed both there and not, approached him. Her name was Ava, and in her eyes, Jacob found an unexpected understanding. Ava, a researcher in theoretical physics, had stumbled upon remnants of the old world's theories, hints of time travel and its potential dangers that had inexplicably survived the timeline's rewrite. In their conversations, Jacob found a kindred spirit, someone who looked beyond the surface to see the echoes of the world that once was. With Ava, he shared his knowledge, veiled as speculative theory, guiding her towards safeguarding the future. Together, they formed a bond built on the shared goal of protecting the timeline, a partnership that slowly bridged the gap of Jacob's isolation. Jacob's journey through time had ended, but his journey through life had taken on new meaning. In Ava, he found not just a collaborator, but a friend, a connection to the world he had thought lost. As they worked together, the shadows of his past began to recede, replaced by the light of a future filled with possibility. The horizon beyond, once marred by the specter of the cataclysm, now shimmered with the promise of tomorrow. Jacob, once a guardian of time, had found his place in the world anew, not as a hero remembered in history, but as a silent sentinel ensuring the dawn of each new day. In the quiet moments, as he watched the sunset with Ava by his side, Jacob found peace in the knowledge that the last sunset had given way to endless horizons, each day a testament to the unseen battles fought and won in the name of hope and resilience. As seasons changed and years unfurled into the tapestry of a future once only dreamt of, Jacob and Ava continued their silent vigil over the world's heartbeat. Their partnership, grounded in shared secrets and a mutual understanding of the delicate threads holding time together, had blossomed into something profound. Together, they had forged a new path, one that led not only towards scientific discovery, but also towards healing the rifts of a past only one of them remembered. In this new era, the specter of the cataclysm had become but a shadow, a tale of what might have been, whispered in the quiet corners of academia and speculation. the world thrived, blissfully unaware of the razor's edge it had once danced upon. Yet, for all the peace and prosperity, the echoes of what was lost lingered in Jacob's heart. He had saved the world, but at the cost of everything he had once held dear. It was in the midst of this reflection that Jacob and Ava faced their greatest challenge yet. A new discovery threatened to unravel the fabric of time once more, a project that eerily mirrored the ambitions that had once led to the cataclysm. History, it seemed, was not without its sense of irony. This time, however, Jacob was not alone in his knowledge or his quest. Together with Ava, he embarked on a mission to guide humanity away from the precipice, armed with the wisdom of lessons learned in the shadows of time. Their journey led them to confront not just the dangers of unchecked ambition, but also the very essence of what it means to protect the future. In each other, they found not just allies, but mirrors, reflecting the sacrifices and hopes that defined their guardianship of time. Ava, with her keen intellect and compassionate heart, brought a new perspective to Jacob's understanding of his role, teaching him that sometimes the most significant changes come not from grand gestures, but from the quiet moments of connection and choice. As they navigated the complexities of this new challenge, Jacob realized that his journey through time had given him more than just a mission. It had given him a family. The bonds he formed with Ava and those they worked with became the anchors in his once turbulent existence, grounding him in a reality he had helped to shape but never thought he'd belong to. In the climax of their efforts, Jacob and Ava managed to avert the crisis, weaving their knowledge and compassion into a solution that protected the timeline without erasing the potential for future growth. It was a victory not just for the present, but for all the tomorrows yet to come. As they stood together, watching another sunset paint the sky with hues of gold and crimson, Jacob found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. The world around him was a testament to the power of hope and the strength of the human spirit to overcome even the darkest of times. He had begun his journey as a guardian of time, seeking to protect the world from the shadows of its past. But in the end, he had found so much more. With Ava by his side, and the knowledge that their work would continue to safeguard the future, Jacob realized that the last sunset was not an end, but a beginning, a promise of endless possibilities, of mornings filled with light and evenings wrapped in the gentle embrace of twilight. The cataclysm that had once threatened to end everything had instead opened the door to a future where each day was a gift, and every sunset was a reminder of the beauty of perseverance and the enduring power of love. In the quiet afterglow of the day's end, Jacob understood that his story was not one of loss and sacrifice, but of renewal and connection. The tapestry of time, once torn and frayed, had been rewoven into a design more beautiful for its complexity. And as the stars emerged, one by one, into the velvet night, Jacob knew that his journey through the corridors of time had led him home at last.